Okay. So what I would like you to do, because it has been so warm this evening, so I've thrown the original plan a little bit out of the window, and we're going to have a practice that is going to be very cooling, fingers crossed, okay? But that's the aim, that's the idea. So I would like you to take a comfortable seat to begin with for this evening's practice. Whether you're going to be here for a few minutes, so there's lots of options available to you. Number one could be that you kneel with a block maybe in between your heels to sit down onto. You could take your feet even wider apart if you want to, maybe move your calf muscles out of the way if that's a comfortable way to sit. You could, of course, if you need something higher, and this is a great way to use your bolster, you could sit straddling your bolster like this. I just want you to be upright. So if you would rather sit cross-legged, if you would rather sit in any other fashion, but even if it's in a chair, or let's just bring this over here, sorry. So get yourself super comfy, but with your spine fairly upright, please. Change it to that. Okay, so lots of you have practiced Sitali breath with me before, and this is cooling breath, and it works. It honestly works, and great for days like this, but also great for times when we feel really hot-headed, like we can't just cool ourselves down, we're about to explode. So there might be a bit of both of those going on at the moment. So wherever you're at, just come to sit comfortably and rest your hands into your lap. We'll start with some gentle Ujjayi breath. We can do this with the eyes closed, and then we'll move into cooling breath, and I'll talk you through that in case you need a reminder. All right? So close your eyes, settle your shoulders, and relax your jaw. And if you're familiar with Ujjayi breathing, then I'd like you to begin to drop into that now. If you're unfamiliar with Ujjayi breath, then you're gently narrowing the throat. So you're engaging the muscles along the back of the throat slightly to narrow the pathway for the air as it goes down the throat. And this is going to slow the breath slightly, but it's also going to make the breath sound just a tiny bit more audible. A really nice way of thinking about it is to imagine that you are breathing in and out between your ears, as though the breath is coming in and out between your ears. And when we start to do that, you get that natural constriction that happens. And this Ujjayi breath, it's not designed to do anything other than to calm and to create a centered place. So it's wonderful to drop into whenever you wish, perfectly safe for everyone to practice. And as you begin to drop into this breath, just make sure your seat is comfortable, that you're able to sit evenly on your sitting bones, that you've got just a tiny bit of lift to the front space of the heart. The shoulder blades are falling back down the body. Okay. So Sitali breathing is where you're going to breathe in through the mouth and out through the nose. When you breathe in through the mouth, you're going to roll your tongue into a tube, and you're going to breathe in through that tube. If you are unable to make your tongue to roll it into this tube shape, then you are putting your tongue behind the upper teeth, the back of the upper teeth. and breathing in, and the breath will go down the sides into the sides of the mouth. You'll get the same effect. And the breath will feel cool as it goes in. Now there's a specific way that I want you to practice this tonight. So sit up nice and comfortably. And then you can do that. We'll do the first few rounds together, and then I'm going to leave you to count another 8 to 10 rounds, and then we'll stop. We'll take some easy breaths, and then we'll repeat the practice. Okay. So this is how we practice. You're going to make this is it's difficult for me to do this and talk my way through it too. So on your inhale, you're going to make the tube, and you're going to tilt your head upwards slightly and breathe in. Close your mouth, hold the breath, drop your chin towards your chest, and just hold the breath for maybe a couple of counts. Maybe 3 or 4 is fine as well. Then when you're ready to exhale, lift the face back to center and breathe out through the nose. So that's one round, okay? So we'll do it again. So you're going to make the tube, breathe in. Hold the breath, drop the chin to the chest. Then when you're ready to exhale, lift the face and breathe out through the nose. All right, I'll talk you through it one more time, and then I'll leave you to it. So breathing in, chin to chest, so taking a very tiny Jalandhara Bandha throat lock, holding the breath inside the body, the cool breath, and then exhaling through the nose, lifting the face back to center. All right, I want you to keep going with this, please. So breathing in, holding the breath, and how long you choose to hold is up to you. But remember, with all of these breathing practices, there shouldn't be any strain to what you're doing. If you're really finding it hard to hold the breath, either just drop the chin to the chest and stay there for a count of 1, and then breathe out, or just leave that bit out altogether. Okay, you can keep the face just lifting it up and then back to center. Always, always feel free to adapt your practice to wherever or however you need it to suit you this evening. Okay, so I'm going to be quiet now and let you take maybe another 5 breaths, 5 rounds. And when you finish your set, bring your breathing back to normal, back to Ujjayi breath. And just sit and feel. Now it's important to note that you don't always feel the effects of this straight away. But if you are a dedicated sitter, you can sit for a while, then I would recommend repeating your 10 breaths, your cycle of 10 breaths, and doing that a few times, maybe 5 times, and then you'll start to really notice a difference. We're going to do it one more time, because obviously the time only allows us that much. But I'd encourage you, if you want to include it in your yin poses tonight, have a play with it, okay? So we're going to do one more round of 10, and you can begin whenever you're ready. And then when you've finished your round of 10, just sitting for a moment, enjoying some easy, even breaths in and out. All right. I'm having a look at you all. I think most faces are still, so I think we are ready to come into our first pose. So let's just release the legs out in front of you perhaps. And maybe just sit and give the toes a circle, so rolling the ankles and changing direction. Okay. So we're going to take, the majority of our poses tonight are going to be reclining ones. And so I'd like us to come into reclining butterfly because it's just such a nice way to begin. So whether you choose to lie with your bolster, you could prop it up a little bit. I quite like to lie just over 2 bricks. So if you've got 2 bricks, I have one on its end like this, one on its side, and then I take my nice folded blanket. Maybe you need to tri-fold it really, rather than having it in like nice and even half. Try to tri-fold your blanket, and that would get you the right width to go over the supports, and then you can lay them over the top there. So however you've chosen to come into this pose, you're going to lie yourself down. And if you want, so I have said we're going to do reclining butterfly. So butterfly is the diamond shape to the legs. If you need support underneath the legs, that's always quite a nice thing to have. But equally, if I'm looking for the target area here to be the inner thighs. So if you can maintain this position, brilliant. But if it's not right for you and you need to have your knees bent or even your legs out straight, that's fine as well. Do try to get the elbows supported. So that's another thing that's quite nice to think about doing. Or if they can't reach the floor. Turn the palms upwards towards the ceiling and settle yourself down into this position. If you want to put your eye pillow on, you could use that. And if your lights are really bright, because we're going to be lying down a lot tonight, you might want to think about dimming the lights if you haven't done so already. What's really lovely when we practice together in the evenings in this way is that you often start off and I can see you all because the room is quite light. And then by the time the class finishes, you're all in the dark, which is just how it should be. It's just perfect. As we practice with the sun going down, the setting sun, how lovely, how fortunate we are to be able to do this. So you're just settling down into this position and supporting anywhere that feels vulnerable, that feels like you need a little bit of extra support. Good. And there's a sense that try not to let if you feel that your head has fallen back too far, then don't be afraid to put a bit of extra support underneath the head so that your chin is maybe just a little bit lower than your forehead. And you might find that becomes a little bit more restful here. So the idea for tonight's practice is that we stay in this very cool and very calm place. And we just prep our body for sleep, really, for settling down and for staying calm and cool. However you've chosen to come into this reclining, there's a little bit of a back bend going on here. So think about breathing into the space that you have created. And by that, we've created a bit more space in the upper body, in the chest, and maybe around the tops of the shoulders, the collarbones. Maybe think about how the breath feels when you move it into different zones of your lungs. What I quite like to do here is to imagine that I'm breathing in right into the center of my chest. And then as I breathe out, it's like I imagine the breath is radiating outwards all around my lungs. So if you need a visualization, we'll stay here for another 2 or 3 minutes in this pose. If you need something to sustain you, maybe thinking about your breath and visualizing it, or even just working your visualization so that you're breathing in to wherever your body is feeling tight or a bit stuck tonight, and you just want to help it soften, and so that you can shed the layer of whatever today has been for you. Bless you. All right. So we're going to think about gently coming out of this when you're ready. To come out of this, you've got 2 options. You can bring your chin to your chest and come up to sit, remove the props and lie yourself back down. Or you can bring chin to chest, roll to one side, push the props out of the way, and then roll yourself back down. And once you get yourself down, slide your legs away from you and enjoy that sensation of the rebound. Okay, so we're back into this place where we let the body rest, we let the legs lengthen, and we notice this sensation that occurs when we bring our body back into a sort of central kind of normal balanced position. So maybe you can feel the stretch on the inner thighs or into the hips. Maybe you're feeling a heat that is radiating from this area. Perhaps your lower back or your thoracic spine that has been slightly altered. Maybe that feels different. And just want you to enjoy and to notice the effects that a single pose has. All right. Okay, so we can transition straight into our next position from lying down. So we're going to come into banana pose, banana asana. So I'd like you to shuffle your body across to the right hand edge of your mat. So we're going to be working the right hand side of the body. Now so the hips stay where they are, and the idea is that the back of the body stays flat. So the back of the hips stay on the floor, the shoulder blades stay on the floor. You're going to shuffle your upper body over to one side so that you are taking a side bend. So this can be a big stretch or it can be a gentle one. It depends where you're at tonight. So you have control on how deep you come into this. Then you're going to walk your heels also over to the left. They might not go as far as what you felt your upper body was able to go. You have a choice again with the arms. They can stay where they are. Or if you want to complete the stretch, you're going to take the arms above the head and hold on to the right wrist with the left hand and gently encourage length
down the arm, the length of the arm as well. If you find your arm or your elbow has come off of the floor, put something underneath it. If that helps you to settle into the shoulder or the elbow joint, put something underneath you so that you can rest your right arm onto it more easily. Make sure the head has turned with you or side bent with you, so you've got a little bit of sensation into the neck. And also make sure that you're able to breathe here, okay? So really going to be directing the breath down the right hand side of the body. A final little variation that you may want to play around with is crossing the ankles. So try it out if you want to. It might feel nice with the right over the left, and equally it might feel quite nice with the left over the right. And because with that happening, it's almost as though you're kind of locking the right leg, the right heel in place. So walking the right heel quite far over and then kind of locking it in place with the left foot or the left ankle. However, you should be able to breathe. There should be an intensity within this stretch and this position, but there should also be an element of ease. Can you lie here? Back of the body is flat, back of the hips are on the floor, back of the shoulders are comfortable. If you get pins and needles anywhere, particularly your hands, your arms, then please adjust, maybe bring the arms out wide rather than having them alongside the ears. Good. Looking very nice, everybody. Well done. And extra kind of, extra brownie points to you this evening, because we're showing up, on a hot evening, and I'm pretty sure it would be quite nice just to sit in front of the TV or something. And I think I've been thinking about this a lot recently, and there is something to be said for showing up to practice in your own home. And I know I've talked about it quite a lot, and how wonderful this opportunity is, that it presents us this opportunity to practice in the space of our own homes. And I recognize within my own practice how hard it is to consistently show up onto my own mat and to put my practice in, Some days it's really easy and some days it's hard, and it must be the same for you. Because in your own home, there are so many distractions, so many things that you could be doing otherwise. Even when you're in the practice space, it's like, oh, I'll just nip to the loo, or the doorbell rings, you could go and answer that, for instance. So yeah, so big respect to all of you, to each and every one of you, for showing up and for consistently returning to your mats all of these times. It is actually really impressive. I'm going to say this to all of the classes that I teach through the week. Okay, so I've talked my way through your first side, so you're going to gently release and come back to lying in that central position and enjoying the rebound on the right hand side of the body. So what does that feel like for you? Listen to the body and its sensations, because this is its way of communicating with you. Okay. And then the lovely thing is that we get to do it onto the other side. So when you feel ready, and again, you can take your time. If you need a bit longer in the rebound space, then feel free to, because we don't need to change props or set anything up particularly. So feel free to luxuriate in your own space. And then you're coming to the left-hand side of the mat, remember, so you've got space to stretch into, to move into, and you're shuffling the body now over towards the right. And so yes, go into this deeply if you want to, or back out of it if you need a bit of a softer practice tonight. You're holding on to the left wrist with the right arm if it's comfortable for you to do so. And you're walking the heels also over to the right and maybe crossing the ankles, maybe not. Maybe that isn't necessary for you to feel a decent stretch this evening. Keep breathing now, really enjoying the breath as it moves up and down the length of your left side. And I wonder if when you breathe in and when you breathe out, does the breath travel down the body or does it travel up the body? There isn't a right or a wrong here, but we will naturally drop into a way to breathe or an idea that as we breathe in, does the breath travel down the side of your body? And then as you breathe out, does it travel back up? Perhaps you can alternate it. Perhaps you can change it so it's going the other way and see what that creates. But wherever or however you're at, just stay here. I'm going to leave you to it for the next 2 minutes. You're going to enjoy the sensations of banana pose. Okay. So when you feel ready, you're going to gently unwind yourself and return back to a central position. Maybe encourage the body to lie symmetrically. Let the legs be long, let the toes roll out, let the arms rest down by your sides and enjoy. What do you notice has changed, maybe within yourself, maybe within the specific target area of your body? Anything feel different? Okay. So I'd like you to come up to sit, please. I'll just change the angle of the camera slightly. So we're going to play around with a pose called cat pulling its tail. So you can come into this lying, but it's a propped up position, and I'll talk you through it. So I'll talk you through it. I'm assuming that I'm mirroring you. So if I'm mirroring you, this is my right leg, this is my left leg, yeah? So my right leg is straight for the moment, and I'm going to lie down with my elbow on the floor. So you must, wherever you're at, If you can come completely to lie down if you want to, but if you're happy with your elbow on the floor, if you need a blanket to put underneath it, please do so. And I'm doing this at a sort of funny angle so that you can see what's going on. So to begin with, right leg is straight, and then the left leg's going to come over the top into this position. And I've kept my bolster here just in case I might want to put my leg on my bolster like that. So if you find it tricky to get this leg down onto the floor, put things underneath it, okay? And then we're working, in fact, what is the right leg, so the bottom leg. And you are going to bend the bottom leg towards your hand, and you're going to reach and hold on to it. So I hope you can see that okay. Okay. So this is essentially the pose, but you're not trying to bring the heel towards the bottom. In fact, you're trying to move the leg away, but keep it down close towards the floor. And you're looking over your shoulder. So I'm looking over my left shoulder towards where my right foot is. So this is the challenge, if you like. So you've got a bit of rotation here, but you've also got a little bit of a stretch going on into the quads on the right leg, and maybe a bit into the IT band as well. If you want to come down to lie, you're very welcome to. You can lie on your side. If you can't find this foot easily, grab a strap, put a loop around it, and just make your arm a little bit longer. But remember, the idea is that you're gently pushing your foot into your hand to try to take your foot away from your sit bone. If you're lying down, you can bring your head onto the floor, you can support it with whatever you have, maybe a cushion or something like that, if you need a bit of extra height, but you're again looking over the shoulder in the direction of the foot. So you should feel quite a nice stretch down the top of the thigh, okay, into the quads. Feel free to play around with this if you want to. Those who are feeling quite flexible tonight, you can reach for your other foot and hold on to that one as well, but keep turning to look over the shoulder. You're going to get more of a rotation that way, okay? But it's not everybody's cup of tea. You don't have to hold on to the foot. You don't have to lie down, although it makes it a bit more reclining, a bit more yin-like, doesn't it? Okay, so I'm just going to have a little bit of a look at you all. Just if you need a hand, just wave at me. I'll take you off of mute. Okay. Right, where are you? Are you okay, Angela? I'm just unmuting you. I think you need to unmute you now. I can't unmute you. It's not letting me.
Yeah, my left leg, it's not coming right up. Is that okay?
Yeah, where? Let me have a look at you. Which one is that? Your top leg?
Yeah.
The straight one. Yeah, that doesn't matter where it is. It can go wherever you're comfortable. So the more flexible you become, the more closer, if you like, the foot will come to the line of your hip. If that's what you're meaning. Do you think about, if your leg is down here, for instance, rather than being up here?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Just have it wherever is comfortable.
Okay then. All right. Thanks.
Well done, no worries.
I have no flexibility whatsoever.
That's not true. I'm watching you. I can see you're doing brilliantly. Okay, I'm going to put you back on mute. All right, looking good. I have to say, I quite like this one. I know we don't practice it so often, but I do quite enjoy it. I like the fact that there's lots of things going on at the same time. Maybe that appeals to my nature. Maybe I need to go and do some of the simple poses so I can calm my mind down. Who knows? However, just enjoy maybe one more minute here, please. And remember, just keep moving the foot just gently away from the sit bone so that you've got that sensation of stretch. This is in the side of the leg that you are lying on, if you like, okay? Okay. And so when you're feeling ready, what I would like you to do is release your hold on your foot. Just push out of the way any props you're using and roll briefly onto your front. If this isn't comfortable for you, roll onto your back. If you're on your front, you're going to take your feet wider apart than your hips and maybe take your arms as though you're like a star, okay? You're lying like a star with your forehead on your mat. If you're lying on your back, you can take the same position, but lying on your back. And then think about letting your spine softly sink towards the mat and noticing the side of the body that you work. So for me, I know I was mirroring you, so I was talking about my right side. So think about the sensation you were feeling if you were copying me into your right side. I wonder whether the feeling, the sensation is a warm one or a cool sensation. Because quite easily it can be either. Okay, so we're going to gently roll ourselves over so that we can practice the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to tip myself down to the other end of the mat so that you can continue to see what I'm doing. I'm going to start off propped up on my forearm, on my elbow. I'm going to take the one leg just down the mat. I'm going to bring the other one up and just rest it onto the bolster, just so that, because it just takes some of the intensity out without me feeling like I have to rest my foot on the floor. You could put a blanket. It's just nice sometimes as well for the for this big toe joint particularly. I find that quite annoying to have that resting on the floor for a very long time. So that's why I prefer to have my leg on the bolster or on something. The other foot, remember, you're reaching back to find it, but then you want to bring, I don't want my foot in the air the whole time like it is at the moment. I want to bring it downwards towards the ground. So to enable that to happen, you need to look over the shoulder in the direction of the foot, and you'll make it easier then. And then you've got that side bend happening, but you've got rotation as well. And even though that's not our primary target area, it's still quite a nice welcome target area. So moving the foot gently away from the bottom, so you've got that sense of stretch in the front of the quads. And if you want to come down to lie, you can go for it, but keep looking sort of in the same direction. Put something underneath your head if you feel like you can't keep it easily against the ground, but still looking, even if you can't see your foot, looking in the direction of where it would roughly be. And then you can close your eyes and just settle down into the experience. Feel free to make any subtle adjustments, anything you need that's going to get you into that target area. So you might need to play around with the leg position of the bottom leg, even moving where the knee is pointing, for instance. Is it still quite close up, pointing out towards the side, or What does it feel like if you point your knee directly down towards the end of the mat? Does that change things for you? How does it feel? So be an explorer, be curious in your own practice to what these sensations feel like when you make these tiny adjustments. Okay. Well done, everyone. I'm going to let you breathe this one out. We'll stay here for another couple of minutes. Okay. So again, I'd like you to think about releasing as carefully as you did when you came in. And I'd like you to lie yourself either on your front or on your back, whatever feels most natural for you to roll into with ease. Spread out the limbs, the arms and the legs, and let your spine sink. Let it sink into your body. Breathe and appreciate the sensation of coming out of the pose. More often than not, this is the best bit of the practice. Okay. And when you're ready, I'd like you to pick yourself up so that you can come to sit, please. And the next pose that we're going to work with is going to look at the target area of the hamstrings, so the back of the legs. So traditionally, the most classic pose would be to come into a forward fold. Okay, and remember in a yin practice, we soften, we round the back body as we come forwards. And you can have the legs dead straight, or you can bend the knees, you can do whatever you want. But I thought to myself, that might be quite heat. For me, I would feel quite hot getting into this position. But if you know that that's the best way to get a stretch for your hamstrings, then you please go for it, okay? So that's option number one. Option number two, and we did this one a few weeks ago, is to get your yoga strap, make it into a really nice big loop, So if you haven't got one of these, this might not be an option for you unless you've got a dressing gown belt or something you can tie. Make sure that the buckle isn't anywhere near your head. And so there is two options to this. So option number one is to put the strap behind the back of the head, put both feet up into the strap, but you want a sense that you can rest your head heavy. So you don't want this loop to be, I'm going to tighten it a little bit. You don't want it to be too big because you want a sense that you are stretching the back of your legs. So the head rests heavy so that you can get that stretch down the back of the legs happening. Okay, this is normally we do this with just one leg in the air at a time, but it's quite nice with two. Another option, if you don't like this idea and you just want to have your head resting down onto the floor or onto a strap, onto a cushion or something, is you put the strap in the crook of the elbows. And then the more you pull the strap forwards like this, so my hands have come down to the floor now, the more you're going to get that stretch down the back of your legs. So you may like to have a little bit of a play with this variation. Okay, so this is a new one. I don't think I've shared this one with you before. Okay, but they're all variations on a forward fold. If either of those don't suit because you don't have a strap and you're thinking, I don't really fancy all that effort of coming into one, then you can practice either just legs up in the air, or I'm sneaking my bolster underneath the back of my body. And I've got my legs up in the air, but I'm letting them hang towards my head in that sort of direction. So you can do that. You'll get the same stretch, but without the heaviness, if you like, or without the effort of having the forward fold going on. Okay, so have a little bit of a play. There's so many options with this, but it's essentially the same pose, just repackaged in different ways. You could hold on to your toes here, for instance, if you wanted to, or hook your fingers around your toes or the edges of your feet, and just hung the arms off of the feet, so that you've got that bigger stretch going on. So have a little bit of a play. I'm going to come and see what you've opted for, what your chosen ones have been. Very nice. And I quite like the bolster being under the hips. It doesn't have to be a bolster, mind. It could be a block that you've covered with a blanket so that you've got a bit of a softer edge to the block itself. Or it could be if you've got a really thick, quite sturdy blanket and you're able to roll that up a few times. That could be your alternative there too. So there's always stuff to have a play around with, even if we haven't got, you know, the yoga equipment, so to speak. We haven't got things off of the list. We can make do with so many things we have in our own homes. All right, so looking good. Well done, everybody. So breathing into the target area, that's the back of the legs, and just allowing the breath to create space and to make it a little bit easier to be in this position. Of course, we shouldn't be struggling with any of these poses, but we do want to create a stretch. We do want to put stress, positive stress, through these areas of the body, so that we are stimulating, we are increasing the circulation to these areas, and we are helping them to stay rejuvenated, keep the cells being rejuvenated there by the body. So perhaps you're going to stay here for 1 more minute. All right, and so when you are done, if you're sitting, you may come down to lie. You'll want bolsters or blocks or blankets around you. So that's for those of you that were sitting, forward folding, come down to lie. Those of you with the legs up, maybe just bring them in towards your chest for a little bit of a hug in, or you could bring the feet down to the floor and let the knees stay bent. So let yourself come into a rebound position that enables you to let the body resettle itself, rebalance, and for you to feel what's happening in those target areas that you worked. All right. So you'll notice that I have my bolster still underneath the back of my hips. I want you to keep that there. If you haven't got a bolster, roll up a towel, roll up a blanket, lie on a block or 2 bricks, one stacked on top of the other, so that you're not too high up. We're in a sort of supported bridge position here. But what we're going to do is just come into a pose, our sort of penultimate pose, where we're going to work to stretch the front of the hips a little bit more deeply. So I'd like you to come into a reclining back bend. So the middle of, I've got the bolster underneath the back of the hip so that I can curve my way over the top of it. And if it feels comfortable, take the arms up and above your head, alongside your ears. Close your eyes. Settle yourself down. If you don't have much of a stretch on the front of the hips, then you need to get yourself higher up. All right. If you're looking for a softer practice and you want to treat this a little bit more restoratively, then don't go to the extreme. Don't go to the lengths of getting your hips up a bit higher. And then drop into the breath again. We're going to practice before we come to the end, our final pranayama in a moment. We're going to practice Viloma pranayama here in this position. So we're going to interrupt the inhalation 3 times. So it's just your normal inhale, normal exhale. Just on the inhalations, you're going to pause, holding the breath on 3 occasions. You're going to break that up how you feel like doing it. And you're going to do this for 5 rounds. Okay? Remember, don't fight the breath. Make sure that you're able to breathe and to practice this activity with ease. And it's 3 pauses within the breath. Okay? And then when you've finished your 5 or so rounds, just let the breathing return to normal. And then we're going to come out of this pose and into our rebound by bringing the arms back down by your sides, bending the knees, lifting the hips, sliding the bolster down towards the back of the knees, maybe, or sliding it out if you prefer, and then just coming to rest. Allowing any sensation from the front of the hips to gently fade. Enjoying where that energy or that heat, that warmth, whatever it is that you can feel, watch where it goes, how it travels around. Okay. So we're then going to bend the knees again, roll over to one side and come round and up to sit. And we're going to come back to a little breathing exercise to finish our yin practice tonight. So come to sit comfortably. Don't mind how you sit, but make sure that you, if you're cross-legged, maybe just lean forwards and then sort of walk the sit bones back and then come up to sit. So you feel as though there's like a lot of space, okay? You've got a lot of connection through the sitting bones. I'm on a bolster, you can sit on anything you feel comfortable with. Relax your hands into a position that feels comfortable for you. Allow your shoulder blades to slide down the back of your torso. Close your eyes, relax your shoulders. Okay, so previously we worked on interrupting the inhalation. And now to finish tonight's practice, we're going to interrupt the exhalation. And we're going to do this for 10 rounds, okay? So it's 3 pauses within the exhalation, but a normal inhalation. I want you to begin whenever you're ready. And if you can, at the end of the exhale, just hold the breath naturally out of the body until you feel it's ready to come back in. So see if you can keep slowing your practice down. Make this round your last. Well done. I'd like you to bring your hands together in front of your heart so we can settle and close tonight's practice together. Breathe in and out easily through the nose. Keep the jaw soft and the shoulders relaxed. I'm going to share with you a quote I saw earlier today, which is so apt. I'm going to present it to that as an energy to that lady that dropped off Matilda's little card holder. It says that a tree is known by its fruit, a man by his deeds. He who sows courtesy reaps friendship, and he who plants kindness gathers love. Namaste to you all. Lovely stuff. Good. Good practice tonight, everybody. Well done.